Thank you very much, Comrade Gwenzi. I'll take this very opportunity to read our press release, Leave No Youth Behind press release. The Leave No Youth Behind, a local coalition of more than 100 youth CSOs, has been working through the electoral cycle since inception in November at Jameson Hotel in Harare, November 2016. The coalition is a national coordinating committee of 22 youth and students organizations drawn from the 10 provinces in Zimbabwe. Leave No Youth Behind is based on the following principles: non-partisanship, peace, participation, youth primacy, and non-violence. These principles inform the 5 key pillars of the campaign that we conducted. The pillars are go mobilize, go educate, go register, go vote, then go demand. The coalition is convened by National Associations of Youth Organizations, NAYO, and advised by the NAMBO Youth Sector. The following are the National Coordinating Committee members: Youth Trust, Youth for Innovation Trust, Greater Indaba Zimbabwe, Community Youth Development Trust Matabeleland South, Wange Youth Forum, For Youth by Youth, Youth for Peace and Development, Zimbabwe Young Women, Network for Peace Building, Real Agenda for Youth Transformation, Chosen Trust, Community Advocates Development Association, CADA, Africa Foundation for Development Tolerance, Women of Prayer Zimbabwe, Shipgate International, Vision Africa Zimbabwe, Center for Empowerment and Development, Zimbabwe Renewal for Generation Trust, and Zimbabwe Students Union representing the students. The pre-election period saw young people being encouraged to go and register to vote. The result is evidenced by higher voter registration of approximately 5,695,000 registrants. Analyzing statistics provided by the Zimbabwe Election Commission (ZEC), it shows that over 2 million, which is 43.5% of the registered electorate, were 35 years and below. These youth which are 18 to 35, but the voting from the voting age, that are registered under the biometric voter registration system, compare favored by the paltry 8.87% in 2013, as indicated by Raul. This is indeed a testimony of the increased political socialization of the populace and the achievement of macro-tangible efforts such as the Leave No Youth Behind. The pre-election phase was largely peaceful, with political parties able to campaign freely in various provinces, which was a motivator for the first-time voters to register to vote. Previously, elections have been known for excessive violence, intimidation, which resulted in young people shunning electoral processes. The efforts across the divide with civic society to target and reach out to youth are commendable, as apathy was dealt with. Leave No Youth Behind witnessed an increase in participation of youth in the political process as compared to 2013 harmonized elections. Young people participated in various political parties, in primary elections, and after campaigning for political offices at local, parliamentary level, and some fielding as independent candidates, with mixed results in the race. We are in the process of documenting youth who participated in 2018 elections as youth candidates. It is encouraging that the presidential candidates moved from 5 candidates in 2013 to 23 in 2018, with 4 of the 23 being female candidates. It is, however, worrying that there was no youth representation at presidential and senatorial level due to restrictive laws that limit the age to 40 years of age. We were also concerned by a rhetoric that continues to equate youthfulness with political naivety. As we have started elsewhere, young people are the pulse of the nation. We are not the leaders of tomorrow only, but of today as well. The campaign period was generally peaceful, as noted, with some liberty of youth candidates to campaign around the country. The Leave No Youth Behind worked with the political parties, youth wings, through the Joint Liaison Committee to advocate for peace through our Youth Peace Pledge and a series of dialogues. The election day, 30 July 2018, Leave No Youth Behind observers observed the elections at different polling stations across the country. Their reports largely indicate that proper procedures were undertaken by the Zimbabwe Election Commission in administering the opening of the day. Administrative arrangements for polling stations were in place in most polling stations, witnessed, although logistics problems were also reported in several other areas. The post-voting period was marred by violence, and that started in the city of Harare. Following days, in announcement of results by Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC, mostly young people took to the streets to protest. Both political parties denied the ownership of the youth, though mostly were seen in opposition colors and regalia, in an act of contrary to Ubuntu and a renaissance of the many young people who perished in the battlefield during the anti-colonial struggle. At least 6 people were reported to be killed and many more injured when security forces used live ammunition against protesters in Harare, in the capital Harare. As the country awaited the results, riot police and military in armored vehicles swept through the streets, targeting bystanders and forcing others to shut business and to return home. Several journalists who were covering the event were intimidated and forced to stop working. The release of results of the 30 July elections and the actions of the army and the riot police have brought back traumatic memories of decades of repression suffered by Zimbabweans under the regime of ousted President Robert Mugabe. The use of live ammunition against the armed civilians can never be justified. The right to freedom of expression, association and assembly is enshrined in the Zimbabwe Constitution. The government and all state institutions, including the uniformed forces, must exercise restraint and respect the fundamental rights of citizens, including the right to assemble peacefully, and provide for, under Section 20 of the Constitution, to put in place mechanisms to protect youth from exploitation and manipulation, which is rife during electoral periods for political ends of political elites. In light of our involvement in 28th election cycle and having observed, we make following recommendation to array of actors which include Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, political parties and civil society. We recognize that the economic hardships currently being experienced in Zimbabwe created a dangerous subject to the 2018 elections, and the success of any other national process in Zimbabwe is dependent on successful resolution of economic question. We recommend that state institutions, including traditional leaders, do all that is possible to win back the legitimacy, trust, confidence of people that they are believed not to be serving in interest of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe needs not only to be open for business, it also needs to be open to Zimbabweans. The Zimbabwean Electoral Commission needs to improve its communication, transparency and accountability to stakeholders, and to share accurate information to political parties, citizens, stakeholders in all phases of the electoral cycle. The effective Zimbabwe Electoral Commission should be more inclusive, transparent, effective in updating the nation and responding to complaints. We strongly urge that the licensing of private media broadcasters by the state, especially in television and radio sector. State media is encouraged to uphold the constitution by not being partisan. That broadcast media is blatantly controlled by the ruling party, creates a dangerous reality and a perception of an even playing field. Social media continue to be an outfit of pent up to emotions that have no expression, that at times becomes violence, which violence could have been avoided if communication platforms were available. We condemn in strongest terms the invoking of a draconian and restrictive laws witnessed when Zimbabwean authorities invoked the Restrictive Public Order and Security Act (POSA) and outdated Police Act to enable the armed forces to intervene. All state institutions must uphold the Constitution, and where a breach of the law happens, either because of unlawful instructions or overzealous operational staff, justice must be delivered swiftly on behalf of those that will have been affected. We note that there is need for extensive voter education, especially targeted at youth and first-time voters in both rural and urban areas, with emphasis given to the secrecy of the vote and importance of political participation. That there should be immediate resolution of logistical issues that differentiates many through legalistic requirements such as proof of residence, lack of national registration documents, non-appearance on voters' roll, even with registration slip, those with registration slips. We also call for the introduction of measures to ensure that those in diaspora eventually vote. If we love their remittances, then definitely they should have a say in our politics. We call on the government and political parties to place progressive provisions that allow participation of youth in politics, especially as party candidates. Most of the youth candidates stood as independent candidates with very little financing for their campaigns. Current provisions within the constitutions are restrictive for youth to access public office. Accreditation fee still remains high for citizens, especially youth who may want to be part of observers, and accreditation must be decentralized to ensure greater participation of citizens, youth, and other interested stakeholders. Critical reforms must be done to the Electoral Act and realign it with the national constitution. In conclusion, as Leave No Youth Behind team, we remain committed to sustaining efforts towards a peaceful nation in which many young women and men participate in social, political, and economic processes. As noted in our interim statement, the 2018 harmonized elections were largely peaceful in the pre-election period, and ZEC's performance in 2018 elections was below the expectation of Zimbabwean populace. ZEC attitude and performance must be rectified in future elections to be taken seriously in this country. Political parties must avoid hate speech and acts that cause violence, during the entire electoral process. And the respect of women should be a priority for all political parties. We urge all political parties to utilize peaceful, legal, and constitutional means in case where there are disagreements with the electoral outcome. It is our conclusion that 2018 harmonized elections noted some improvements but lacked fairness and freeness. We commend our leaders and the people of Zimbabwe for continuously advocating for tolerance, peace, before, during, and after elections. Leaders should, however, take seriously the fact that free, fair, trustworthy, and credible election process should become the bedrock of our political system in real peace, legitimacy, and sustainable development to be realized in our lifetime. I thank you.
I just want to understand something. You mentioned that ZEC performed below the bar. Would you like to put some more clarifications of what were the expectations from the youth?
Thank you very much. Any other question? Okay, we are going to give Mr. Gonto and any other person from the panel to answer this question.
Thank you very much for the question. We have since produced our interim report, which is detailed, that we also can share with the media. And there were benchmarks that we're using in terms of measuring a credible, a free and fair elections. And we have taken note of a peaceful environment that had happened. But there are various factors that actually used to measure the outcome, to measure the electoral processes. For example, our national constitution has been the adequate reforms done. For example, we've got even regional instruments that guide the elections in Zimbabwe. But just to be specific, if you take the issue of the media that I was talking about, the state media, they have the obligation to cover all political parties in an equal manner, and that was not done. And most of you might agree with me that we have many observer missions. They've also taken note of this. There's also issue of traditional leaders during the political campaigns that were done. We've seen many traditional leaders openly supporting certain political parties. And according to the constitution, this should not actually happen in terms of the electoral processes. Then there are issues to do with the voters roll, for example. We're stakeholders. NAYO is part of the election situation rule, where we're requesting even the final voters roll, and there were different voters roll which were confusing that was given. And it is the right of the stakeholders to get, for example, the final voters roll, not only the political parties, but stakeholders, so that they know. But you find out that the voters roll that was released 5 days before did not even have some photos, though it is like saying it's the final, which is okay. But it could have been released maybe a month before, so that even stakeholders, because there is one thing that is also happening, the issue of lack of confidence. If there is lack of confidence, you need to increase it by being transparent, by being accountable, by being responsive. Also, in terms of the young people, let me also say, even in our interim report, ZEC was snapping the young people, even in terms of meeting. The only way we meet them is when we submitted our petition, but we were meeting ZEC through different stakeholders, like what I said, the election situation rule. So the issue also for accountability, a two-way process. So there are other ways also that are highlighted in our report that has made us to reach these conclusions and recommendations.
Yeah, I also need to highlight the issue of administrative situations, where you find that in some other rural polling stations, there was no electricity, and even some other documents which were essential for the running of elections was also not well prepared. Then also the issue of the timing, like communicating and planning, was also shambolic in some polling stations. There's also the case in Saka, where 2 headmen were also running for political office under the ruling party. Those are issues of intimidation and also against the constitution. So I think in that regard, we could see that ZEC wasn't doing. You look at the voters' roll, you look even within other issues that we've been handling out by the political parties, the issue of the ballot paper itself. It showed a screwed partisanship in terms of the running of ZEC. Then there were also timely updates. You would find that they seemed as if they have been doing they have not been open enough to the public, and even to the media, and even to the civic society. Then the other issue that Comrade Gondo highlighted, the issue of that there has been no fair communication, or there has been no fair interaction between a youth institution and civic or youth organization with ZEC in its handling of electoral matters. So I also need to point that as part of some challenges that we faced with ZEC.
And to add on, one of the other challenges that we faced as well was in terms of logistics, whereby there were maybe 2 or 3 where I was based, where there are 2 or 3 polling stations, and people were confused as to where to go in, because it was ordered according to SENEM. However, people had not been informed about that. And also there was a lack of ushers, where people are able to direct. This is where one of the logistical issues that we discovered as well. And in turn, some people ended up getting frustrated, and they ended up not voting as they had been waiting in the queue for a long time. So these are some of the issues that if they can improve in the future. And I would also like to comment on their timekeeping. For where I was based, their timekeeping was commendable. Thank you.
Just an analysis to add on to what she said on logistical. I also believe that at the polling stations, the young people were so frustrated at times, especially where I was observing. I noted that at some point you'd go at tent or A, and you find your name is not there, and you go to tent B, your name is not there. So for the young people, I believe that there are people who actually like to partake. The motivation that we give them during the Leave No Youth Behind campaign, it was an experience that they had never actually dealt with. So I wish that if they could also assist the young people, especially when on the ground, it would be much more easier.